Hello there, it's Tom here, and this is a Mexican-themed video for Chapter 15 of Gunnerkrigg Court, Red Returns. So, chronologically, this chapter, which would be the start of Book 2, happens after the summer holiday, and we're just catching up with Annie here. And I kind of like the idea of Annie spending the summer alone in the court, just running around barefoot, a bit like she might have done when she was living in the hospital. This first panel here is based on a part of Tamworth Castle, and a lot of the background scenes, especially in the inside of the court, are based on places that I've been to in real life. For example, the Year 8 dorms, and they're based on some sort of wooden tower that I saw when I was in Egypt once. I thought it was an interesting structure, and so I thought it would be fun if they were converted into dorms. And each of the rooms are supposed to be kind of a wedge shape, but I don't think I really conveyed that very well with the awkward perspective that I drew in these rooms. They're supposed to be kind of very tall, but taper to a point where their door is. But looking back on it, it just leads to some panels looking like they have weird perspective issues. But anyway, Kat comes back from her holiday, and we see that she's all tanned now, and she's brought some gifts for Annie. And it's just a small segment where we can catch up on what the characters have been doing over the summer, just in time for the start of a new year. And since a bunch of the kids are together in one place, we have the introduction or reintroduction of this crazy character. And it turns out that she is the fairy that Annie met down by the river, now given human form. And to keep things less confusing, I'll just call her Red in this video. So it looks like Red is not very happy at the changes that she's gone through. Not only because she dislikes the way she looks now, but also because she doesn't seem to be friends with the blue-haired one anymore. And drawing and writing Red is good fun because she's very different from Annie, and kind of different from the rest of the characters so far. She's basically a little ball of energy that's always moving around and making weird faces and shouting at people, and she's just good fun to write, really. And the chapter in general accomplished a couple of things, not only to start off the new year and reintroduce the characters, but also to convey a few plot points and show a bit more about how the court works, especially in regards to how it deals with the students that used to live in the forest. So since Kat was going to go and get her hair cut, they invite Red to come along, and during that journey we see a lot more of the court in the background than we normally do. And this was just done in a way to show that it's very vast. We have things like undergrounds based on the ones in London, we have backgrounds based on scenes from Amsterdam when I visited there, and just some buildings that I thought were interesting and I felt would look at home in the court. And during all this time, we have the kids making small talk about the other students. We see that they seem to have strange priorities where they don't really know much about the human world, such as what chairs and rooms and things like that are, but Red for some reason seems to understand things like magnetic levitation. And this is something that will be touched again in a much later chapter when we look at one of the classes that these former forest students take part in. Another thing I was able to do by bringing Red back was show the other side of the story of when Asengrin supposedly found the broken TikTok down by the river. I'm not sure I did too good a job with conveying that here because since they are talking about things that happened in the past and off-panel, it is kind of easy to gloss over the events that they're alluding to on this page. But anyway, it was an excuse to draw things that I like, such as the Model H horses they use for transport in the court. So the happy trio arrive at the hairdresser, and Kat gets her hair did, whereas Red wasn't even aware that you could cut your hair. And I wanted it to seem like Red, at least, and by extension maybe the other kids, were just dumped into their new bodies and not really told how anything works or what life would entail, other than they have to go to class now. So Red, who is obsessed with getting her hair sticking back up again like it used to, she gets her wish and gets a nice new hairdo, which she is ecstatic with. And she's convinced that getting her hair done like this is going to make her previous companion want to be friends with her again. Even though they don't seem to particularly like each other or even know each other's names. And the reason for that, of course, is because at this point the fairies don't have names. But I wanted this whole segment to show just what kind of characters these ex-fairies are. They're all basically a bunch of jerks, and even though they are human now, they still retain a lot of their previous characteristics, visually as well as personality-wise. They still have their pointy ears, and some of them keep their markings, but mainly their personalities are exactly the same as they were before they went through the test. And in keeping with fairy personalities, they're very vain and shallow. So, because now Red looks good again, according to her friend, they get to be friends again. Even though the friendship that these creatures have with each other is probably not quite the same as human friendship. And I enjoyed this chapter and Red because she was able to be a complete jerk for the entire chapter, and in the end she's completely right and fully justified in her actions, even flipping off the two girls as she leaves. And like anybody would, Cat just calls her a bitch. And I like this bonus page because I like the pretty colours, and there you go. And that's it for this chapter. Come back again for chapter 16, A Ghost Story.